It is so wonderful to see you all here. My name is Leah Frieden. I'm an assistant manager of the Reference and Adult Services Department here at the Fayetteville Public Library, and I'd like to welcome you to the library. Thank you for being here, and welcome to those watching at home through live stream as well. If you would take a moment before you leave today and fill out the library evaluation forms we've left for you. Those do help us plan for future programs. And we are just so thrilled to have partnered with Circles NWA for this program. And without further ado, I'll turn things over to our MC for this evening.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can you guys hear me out there? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, you guys, on behalf of Circles NWA, I would love to welcome you all out. You look so beautiful. My name is Jeremiah Pickett, also known as Bang. Please insert round of applause here. Hey, don't look at me like that. Guys, I work in entertainment. It's a very difficult field, okay? Sometimes you got crowds that are pretty tough. So I wish I could say that that was the last time that I was gonna solicit a round of applause, but I can't promise that. So again, thank you all so much for coming. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we stand and sit. I, Jeremiah Pickett, and hopefully all of you acknowledge that Indigenous people were forced to leave their ancestral lands, and that includes the Caddo, the Quapaw, and the Osage. So if you don't mind, can we take a moment of silence to just pay our respects to these lovely people? Thank you again for joining us. You guys, we got somebody coming to the stage, a really good friend of mine. I said I was gonna say the phenomenal, but then she kind of freaked out. She was like, oh my God, don't say that. So I'm like, I don't know what to say other than the magnificent Christina.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. My name is Christina Williams, and I'm the Executive Director of Circles NWA. So before we dive into our main content, I want to tell you a little bit about Circles. So who we are, what we're about, and why we're doing this event here tonight. So Circles is a poverty reduction initiative that works with low-income individuals and families to help them move up and out of poverty. Circles is unique because we flip the traditional mentorship model on its head and really try to center the leadership of those who've experienced poverty here in Northwest Arkansas. Our participants are called Circle Leaders, and they, as part of our program, they're matched with 2 to 3 volunteer allies who typically come from middle or upper income backgrounds. And together, they commit to walking alongside each other for a minimum of 18 months as a Circle Leader sets goals to increase their income, to grow in their career, and to get more connected into the community. So Circles is based on the national Circles USA model, which has been around for over 20 years and has 80 chapters across the US and Canada. The Circles NWA is the first one here in Arkansas. So we launched our first cohort of Circle Leaders and Allies in 2021, and they're about to hit 12 months together in the program this month. And then we just launched our second cohort of Circle Leaders and Allies, and they're going through their training right now, and after they finish that, they will be matched. And so I just want to take a minute to acknowledge those in the room that are Circle Leaders, Allies, or anyone that's been involved in Circles. Can you just stand up for a minute? Yes. And we just want to thank you for your commitment to Circles and your support in the work to build community to end poverty. So often in our fight against poverty, communities can find themselves in a place where we're just managing poverty, not really ending it. And at Circles, we want to see poverty ended, not just managed. So in addition to our cohort program with our Circle Leaders and our allies, our Big View team works to address these bigger barriers that people face as they're trying to move out of poverty. And that's why we're here today, to talk about one such barrier. And at Circles, we would say this is the biggest, most persistent barrier keeping low-income households from truly being able to achieve upward mobility. You know, we can read about these issues, we can study them, we can discuss them, But if we really want to find solutions to these barriers, we at Circles believe that we have to be led by those who are closest to the problems. And so as I mentioned, our participants are called circle leaders. And that's not just a name for us at Circles. It's our circle leaders who are leading the work for change in our community. They're leading the change in their own lives, in our program, and they're the leaders that I believe we need if we want to find those real solutions. And so we have the honor of getting to hear from some of them today. Circles has been working closely with the city of Fayetteville to bring awareness to the cliff effect. And so we're really pleased to find out that Mayor Jordan today issued a proclamation that October 18th is now Cliff Effect Awareness Day. So the mayor was unfortunately not able to be here. They have a big city council meeting tonight, but Devin Howland, the director of economic vitality at the city, sent us a short video about this proclamation. So I'm going to play that.
My name is Devin Howland, Director of Economic Vitality for the City of Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm here today on behalf of Mayor Lionel Jordan, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, to issue a proclamation declaring October 18th, 2022 as Cliff Effect Awareness Day in the City of Fayetteville. Whereas there are many barriers a resident may face to economic mobility, making it crucial that our growing community provides opportunities for economic advancement and self-sufficiency for those who face the cliff effect. And whereas the cliff effect, one of the country's largest barriers to economic self-sufficiency, occurs when a person or family begins to earn more than state-set income limits and loses critical subsidies for food, housing, childcare, and other subsidies, and cannot afford to replace those services in the private market. And whereas Circles NWA is a valued Fayetteville nonprofit and a nationally proven, innovative poverty advancement model that lifts residents out of poverty and works to unify the community to reduce barriers to economic mobility. And whereas Fayetteville, Arkansas is a progressive and compassionate community that recognizes the importance of economic mobility, workforce training, and career advancement for the success of all residents, including those who face barriers to economic self-sufficiency. And whereas today we celebrate bringing awareness to the cliff effect and organizations such as Circles NWA, who are leading the charge to combat this major issue. Now, therefore, Mayor Lionel Jordan, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, does hereby proclaim that October 18th, 2022 is Cliff Effect Awareness Day. Circles, thank you for putting on this event. Thank you for those in attendance, and thank you for helping us bring awareness to the cliff effect. As you may or may not be aware, the City of Fayetteville has been embarking on the development of its next 5-year Economic Vitality Master Plan. And I can't thank Circles enough for their leadership, involvement, and commitment on that planning process. I can personally attest that their involvement has strengthened our initiative so much, and as such, strengthened our efforts for the City of Fayetteville. Tonight, as you learn more about this, I challenge you to tell your friends and family. Make sure we get the word out. This is a major issue that many don't know about, and together we can fix it. Thank you.
So you're going to get to hear more about this, but we've been piloting a tool created by the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta to help identify benefit cliffs, and the City of Fayetteville has joined us in this pilot. So thank you again to Mayor Jordan and Devin and all those in the Economic Development Department at the city for bringing awareness to this and working towards solutions to the cliff effect. So to kick off our conversation on the cliff effect, we want to first present you with a short documentary of some of our circle leaders sharing their experiences about the cliff effect. This video was filmed and edited by Caitlin Grimsty, who is one of our circle leaders.
I won't deny it, I'm a straight rider.
So before Circles, I was aware of my circumstances and my experience. I was not aware of the term cliff effect. But now I know that there's a term for everything that I've experienced in my life.
This is the story of the cliff effect, when earning more means having less. I'd like to introduce you to 4 women in Northwest Arkansas, mothers, doing everything they can to provide for their families and better their lives, going to school, working hard, and all now or at one time relying on government benefits to assist them as they work towards self-sufficiency. Getting a raise should be cause for celebration and motivation to excel in one's job. But because of the cliff effect, working harder and making more money can actually be financially devastating to those who are taking real steps to move up and out of poverty.
My name is Carmen Gonzalez, and I am 34 years old, and I'm a circle leader. So back in 2019, I was given a really great opportunity to promote within the company that I work for. I've currently worked there almost 10 years. So I really weighed my options, knowing that it would be potentially more stress, more responsibility, being a manager, but it would mean so much more, and the potential to potentially buy a house for me and my child. That was just everything to me. A few months later, I gained custody of my 2 nieces. Although I took that pay raise and I'm putting in a lot more hours, I'm taking on a lot more stress. I'm not really making any more money or any more headway, and all of our benefits are getting cut.
What Carmen and other circle leaders are experiencing is the cliff effect, sometimes known as benefit cliffs. And these cliffs occur when a pay raise at work triggers a sudden, often unexpected loss of government assistance. So even a small increase in income can result in families suddenly becoming ineligible for subsidized food, childcare vouchers, subsidized housing, or health care. And so it's a real risk for families to just suddenly lose it all. Circle leader Kim knows the risk.
If my income is $1 over, then I get no benefits. If it's 1 penny over, I get no benefits.
And as she considers taking a higher paying job at the university, she knows there are cliffs up ahead.
So I would lose housing. I would lose my food stamp benefits and possibly medical.
From a visual standpoint, it's not hard to see how the cliff effect gets its name. As income increases and recipients go over those eligibility lines, benefits are often withdrawn all at once, resulting in these steep cliffs, indicating a loss of often hundreds or thousands of dollars in resources for families.
As a program coach for Circles, what I'm seeing happening for people is that the cliff effect is putting them in this place where they have to make a choice about whether or not to take a higher paying job and risk the loss of benefits that they may not be able to make up on their own.
Circle leader Patty has faced the difficult choice of whether or not to stay on benefits.
So I came back to Northwest Arkansas and I started at the university. And then upon graduating there this last spring, 2021, that's kind of when it got real. And I realized that I needed to make a choice of, keeping the current benefits that I had as a means of survival, or to get a job that I knew was going to take care of me and my son. Like, I knew that I was secure as long as I was in college, getting loans and grants. I literally couldn't do it by myself. Child support wasn't consistent. It was just me.
For Shalitha, the cliff effect is a story of one looming cliff after another as she tries to move off of disability and into the full-time workforce.
I took a high-paying job, within 10 months ago, not knowing that increasing my pay would cause me to lose the benefits. And I was happy that I got the job. I thought I was doing real good with that. I thought everything was going to be fine until, boom, the cliff effect came about, to where the more that I made, the less that I was going to get.
Many households don't know they are going to lose their benefits until after they have taken more income. Circles has been piloting a tool from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta to help people identify when they will reach a benefit cliff and how they can plan to navigate it.
So as Shalitha and I have worked together, what we've seen is she really faces this choice between these two different scenarios. Either she can stay on her current assistance and have to work under an income threshold that keeps her in very part-time, minimum wage jobs, or if she wants to go off of her benefits and still have the same amount of resources at the end of the day, she has to get a full-time, high-paying job to be able to maintain the same budget.
So the idea of working her way up through incremental pay increases over time is not really an option for Shalitha. To avoid hitting these cliffs, she has to limit her income to minimum wage part-time work, or she has to bridge over the cliff and move all the way up to $17, $18 an hour full-time work. Everything in between causes her to net out worse financially.
And then receiving my monthly, Social Security. It pays for my premium, for my medical, drug prescription, which is zero deductible. And so if I lost all of that during the double increase of my pay, then, okay, now you got to pay for the premium. Now you got to pay for your prescription drugs. Now you got to pay for full rent. I would lose my housing. I would lose the Section 8 that I'm already receiving. So that would really put me at being homeless.
So part of what we've seen is the complexity of these different government assistance programs that our circle leaders are having to navigate. Often the income thresholds from program to program are different, and even what's counted as income from one program to the other can be different. And then on top of that, each year, these income thresholds tend to change slightly. And so our circle leaders are having to be constantly in the know on whether or not the amount of money they're making is still qualifying them for the benefits that they depend on.
The food stamps, they were having me resubmit every 6 months. And so there would be times that I was literally so busy that I would forget to do it. And so I was like, okay, I need to apply for those again. And it was a whole process. And at one point, it was just such a process that I think I just quit applying for them when I knew that I needed them.
For those who haven't ever had to navigate government benefits or services, it can seem like the answer to moving out of poverty is just to work harder, just get a job. When in fact, what we're seeing is that low-income families are working really hard.
I work very hard to provide and be as independent as possible. And so I think there's this huge stigma that we're all here to live off the government. I'm not here to live off the government, but I am here to say that, hello, government, what you're doing is you're putting me in a position to say, some days it might just be easier to ask you for a hand up than to struggle this hard and put this many hours in and spend less time with my kids.
People often want to take on more hours, accept promotions, or work overtime to make more money. But the circumstances of the cliff effect cause people to have to be overly cautious and to limit their economic opportunities. And so the cliff effect is a challenge that negatively impacts not just workers, but employers, those who are wanting to hire, wanting to give raises or offer overtime or more hours to their employees.
There is definitely a system in place that does not allow people to escape poverty. What is being established to help people see outside of the system?
It's a mindset shift needed for everyone in the community. A shift away from the often overly simplistic explanations we tend to have for why people are stuck in poverty. The cliff effect is a problem that can be addressed, so that families working hard to get to self-sufficiency aren't forever stuck, thinking they're climbing a ladder only to be faced with an anchor pulling them back down.
Like I said before, I didn't know there was a name to it until I started Circles. And now I know that there's a name, so that means that I'm not the only one. So there's more like me, so there's more reason to promote change.
Right, I think we're gonna throw a slide up so I have something to reference. I'm Lindsay Mast, and I work on the Big View team with Circles. I am gonna wait a minute till we get that up because it's important to have a visual. Is it me? Oh, well, look at that. No? Ah, here we are, thanks. Okay, in the video that we just watched, I hope you started to gain a sense of what the cliff effect is and specifically how it affects friends in our community. When I first encountered the cliff effect, as Carmen shared, I didn't know that it had a name, and I certainly didn't know that it was systemic. So there are a lot of variables that can go into this that might make it seem fuzzy or confusing. And so my goal in the next 3 minutes with this graph is to walk you through a very simplified framework with some example numbers for us to keep in mind before we get to hear from the Circle leaders who are our panelists tonight, who are going to share their personal experiences. So behind me here is a graph that helps us to visualize the cliff effect. And these are real numbers for what a family in Washington County would face. In our example, we have a mom with 2 young children, and she's working a full-time hourly job at $11 an hour. At $11 an hour, her family is actually eligible to receive food, housing, childcare, and medical benefits. And those benefits are intended to really close the gap to make ends meet for current living expenses while providing some stability for potential future thriving. You'll see on the graph that we have net resources. So that's over on the left side, we're talking about net resources. And that's really a key data point that we're tracking as we talk about the cliff effect. We calculate a family's net resources by taking the wages that are earned from work, couple that with the benefits that the family might be eligible for that are coming into the household, and then we reduce it by living expenses that are built in, like housing and food, transportation, childcare, and even medical expenses. So net resources are what we all have that are essentially left over for things like emergencies that come up, saving for the future, or really anything that's beyond paying for those bare necessities. In our example here, Mom is actually offered a promotion at work, and she's now offered $13 an hour. That's great news, right? Surely that will be reflected in those net resources, the ability to have a bit more. Well, before we celebrate, we need to pause and calculate what will actually happen to her net resources. That $2 increase will actually push her over the maximum wages that make her eligible for a grocery benefit. And she's been using that grocery benefit to help close that gap and make those ends meet for her family. In losing that single benefit, so just one of them, her net resources actually go down $1,200. So she has less, but she's making more. Who could imagine that a promotion at work with a significant pay increase would actually make a family have less? If this mom is to continue, which is kind of the time graph, let's say she continues to work towards those promotions or earning more, you see that more cliffs are up ahead, losing free and reduced lunches or medical insurance. And really we get to the largest cliff at about $25 an hour, where a person loses all of their childcare subsidy. Losing that, I'm gonna use a red pointer here, so when I lose this, I go right back over to where I was making about $16.50 an hour. So there's no difference to her in the net resources that are available to her family. So even though she's making 50% more, there's not that money in the bank account for the family to utilize. This is the painful reality of the cliff effect, and it plays out repeatedly, as you can see, where there's a complete and sudden loss of a baseline benefit that results in a net decrease of resources available. This is exactly what we mean when we say that earning more actually means having less. I hope that this example provides a framework as we listen to our circle leaders tonight. Each of these strong and resilient leading women in our community have their own experiences to share with us about how the cliff effect has impacted their personal family lives. I want to invite you all up, our circle leader panelists tonight, Carmen and Shalitha and Patty, Kim and Christina. I want to thank you for being willing to share your stories. It is not lost on me that that is vulnerable and honest, and I'm so thankful you're willing to do it. Do you need it?
Can we do a quick mic check for our circle leaders?
Did you turn it on? Check. Did you turn it on?
Can y'all hear them?
Oh, you can hear me. Testing? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Awesome. Okay. Great.
Whose is that?
Can we get one more handheld mic? Thank you. We'll bring you a different mic.
Maybe I just need to move it closer. Is that how it
Thank you,
works?
You might want
Okay. Yeah, just mute the other one. Okay, here we go. We'll get started. So thank you guys for being here. We're really excited to hear from each of you and honored that you would be up here to share your stories with us tonight. You all are circle leaders, and this truly is a brave thing for you guys to do. This is not easy. They've put in a lot of time and practice and work, but this is a hard thing to talk about. And it really exhibits your leadership here in our community. And I believe we as a community have a lot to learn from all of you. So to start us off, I'd like each of you to take a few seconds and introduce yourselves and why you're here. Carmen, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Carmen Gonzalez. I'm 34 years old. In December, I'll have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have 3 children, one who is autistic, and I have lived in Springdale for 15 years. And I'm here today to hopefully shed some light on the cliff effect and how it has affected me and my family.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Shalitha Parks. Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me?
Maybe Luke.
I think we can hear you.
Hi, I'm Shalitha Parks. I'm a resident of Fayetteville for 5 years. I'm a grandmother of 6 granddaughters. I have a grandson that will be born for the first time in December. And I am studying to become a parapro. And I also am looking forward to have my associate's degree. And I also lead in my community at High Point Apartment. I'm also a resident council there. And I'm here because I'm a circle leader, and my life matters, and I'm willing to share my experience with others.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Patty Scott. I am a native of Northwest Arkansas. I graduated from the University of Arkansas last spring. I have a major in communications now. I'm an ambitious mother to a 6-year-old boy, and I'm here not only to educate the community, but I'm hopeful that we can come together and #eradicate the cliff effect.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I said let's get that trending.
Starting now. Look. My name is Kim Jansen. I am a native of Fayetteville, and I have 2 children, an 18-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. I hold an undergraduate degree in sociology, criminal justice, and African American studies, a master's degree in higher education, and currently working on a certificate. I'm here tonight as an advocate for reducing poverty in my community.
Thank you for those introductions. So to begin our time on the panel, I'd like to start with you, Carmen. In the video, you talked about how much it impacted you to learn that there was a name for something you've been experiencing for so long. And your story really captures how these benefit cliffs can affect families like your own. You were in a situation where you took a promotion and were doing okay, and then your household size suddenly changes, and you hit these cliffs that you didn't even know were there. Can you talk about what it's been like to navigate these cliffs ever since you took the promotion and took on your 2 girls?
Yeah, so like I stated in the video, in 2019, I really weighed my options on the promotion at work to take a manager role. Financially, it made sense. I had a goal for me and my son. I really wanted to be more financially independent, and it just made sense for me to take the position, even though it meant, maybe a little more stress and a little more work. So I did take the position, but then fast forward a couple months later, life happens, and I gained custody of my 2 nieces, and that are now my daughters, and everything changed for me. So virtually that put me back in the same position that I was in before I started. Even though my income is more, it's not. I now support 3 children, and I feel that I am back in the very same place that I started. My family has lost all of the benefits that we were receiving. A good example of this is my children no longer receive free and reduced lunches. So as I explained, my youngest is autistic, so she receives Social Security benefits. And based on the form, my income, I should qualify. My children should qualify for free or reduced lunches. However, they decided to include my daughter's income, which is money for her and her disability, to take care of her. So they included that as my income, which is an injustice to her. And because of that, my other kids none of my kids qualify for free and reduced lunches. So that is just one way that the cliff effect has affected me and my family.
Thank you for sharing your story, Carmen. I want to turn now to you, Shalitha. You're a mother. You raised 3 children, utilized government assistance to provide for your family, and now they're all grown, and you have 6 grandkids, 1 on the way. So you're also a grandmother. Everyone's out of the house, and it's just you now. So can you talk about how the cliff effect affected you as a mother, and now as a grandmother, with how you want to live your life?
Yeah, so with me, it's called life. You win some, you lose some. You live another day, you get up and keep fighting. But for me, at the age of 18, right out of high school, I had my first daughter at 19, and right then and there, I had to rely on public assistance, food stamps, and Medicaid just to make ends meet and to get by. It was a struggle for me, but I managed because I had a child that I had to take care of. By the time I was 29 years old, I ended up having a family of 3. So I ended up having 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. And so I managed to work within that time, and a gap in between. I struggled, but at the same time, I had to make a living and a sacrifice for my children. And then as far as 29 working, Social Security between 2003 and 2006, I became disabled, and I lost my public assistance in 2006. My kids are grown, they're all out the house, and now I want to be active in my grandchildren's life. There's 6 of them, they're all girls. I'm expecting my grandson in December, and I missed one of their birthdays this year in July because I wasn't able to drive 51 miles just to go visit her on her birthday. It might seem like it's a short distance, but for me, I didn't have the gas. And when I go down there to visit them, they always say, "Nana, can we go back with you?" And I have to look at them in their face and say, "No, Nana can't bring you back," just because I don't have the gas to bring them back with me. And so it's kind of hard to struggle when I can't even buy a pair of shoes for myself, let alone to get Pampers or an outfit for my grandson that's about to be born. So with that, the cliff effect has affected me with Social Security. There's a line that I will have to meet to work and to stay under a certain amount. If I did an increase of income and made more, then they will calculate that to figure out how much I made within that month, or overpayment will be paid. If I make so much, Shalita, you would have to pay that back. So trying to stay ahead of things and working and taking a job that would pay me more, I would lose my benefits. So it's a struggle. It's an uphill battle. It doesn't matter what I do or how far I go. It just doesn't work. It seems like I just get hit back more steps I take forward. So that's just where I'm at right now. I'm facing difficulty of losing my benefits. They can tell me I won't get a check the next following month, or I have an old payment that I got paid back. So they can take a portion out of my Social Security. So I'm just trying to work and trying to get my goals to become the person that I always been. I struggle all my life, and I just want something better for my grandchildren, because that's who I live for. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Patty, can you tell us about your experience with benefits and how it's affected you as you're working towards your goals?
Yep. So I first started utilizing benefits as a new mom, and I think at first, like in hindsight, they were a tool for my success, but at the time being, I just kind of thought that, it was a means of survival. Like, if I don't have these, like, how are we gonna make it? So at that time, I found myself living in northeastern Oklahoma, and I enrolled in a junior college where I proceeded to graduate. I started when my son was 5 months old and graduated from there in May of 2018. I used the benefits as stepping stones. It was kind of a risk to come back to Northwest Arkansas, but for me, it was all about the opportunity. I think, a lot of people, if you're a transplant, like there's a lot of opportunities here, and this is, where I'm from. So I came back to be a Razorback, and in doing so, I think that I ran into the cliff effect around my senior year, and that's when I realized, it just kind of, I was transitioning from graduating college, hadn't quite yet graduated. I was given this opportunity for a new job, and I thought, that's great. This is a time to be happy. You have this opportunity, to really make it. And then, my struggle was, I thought that what I was making was enough, and in reality, I could barely make rent. Like, there was a rent increase just for a 2-bedroom apartment was almost $900. But then, we weren't even eligible for like food benefits.
So that's when I really had to just stop and think and reevaluate everything. And, I've worked so hard. I value myself and all the hard work, that I've put in of being a full-time mom, full-time student in college, and then working. And that's where, I made the leap and decided I'm now employed at a local corporate office, so.
Thank you. Okay, Kim, before you were at the university, you were working another job and had a very clear encounter with the cliff effect. Can you tell us what you experienced when you took a raise and a promotion?
Yes, so I'm a native of Fayetteville, and so I had I was employed with a company in town, and I took a raise within 8 months. This was kind of like, this is unheard of, but I worked really hard. I got a raise within 8 months, but it was a commute. So it was a commute to Bentonville, which was 20 minutes away. And so while it was showing that I was bringing more money in, it wasn't necessary. I was breaking even, right? Because of the commute, because of the gas, my benefits were negatively affected. And so I really, I was working more hours and I was making more money, but it didn't seem like anything was happening. And so if I tell y'all this story, don't tell nobody else. But I went skating one day and I did the limbo and tore my ACL. And so I had to have surgery, and so it was dealing with the insurance company and getting the paperwork in for that. And so it was just kind of trying to figure this thing out and not really, what am I trying to say? And I guess, so just trying to figure it out. And so I ended up going back to school because there was just a gap in what I was bringing in, and I knew that essentially I would have to get over this hump in order to make more money.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think people can relate to needing to spend more gas to commute, but then to add this double layer of now you've lost benefits, now you're also having to pay more for all these different things. It's just this added layer that the cliff effect kind of throws at people all at once. So Patty, I want to go back to you. In the video, you talked about the process of applying and reapplying for food stamps and just how much it took to keep up with that. Can you share some more about the complexity and process of applying for and utilizing benefits?
Yeah, so it was a really extensive process. I know that my family desperately needed the help while I was trying to get through school, but it was an extensive process with really unclear deadlines, and I found myself sometimes just kind of missing the deadline and then being, avoidant, and then, once I would eventually reapply, you would have to wait the 30 days again to be able to get food. And so for me, sometimes I tried to avoid it and just work extra and make up for it, and it wasn't really feasible at the time. So I think for the most part, that was really what we utilized the most out of anything, so.
And in hearing all of your stories, I can see how it can really take a toll on a person, all the uncertainty and the risk and having to balance all these different things and decisions. What does that feel like?
It's overwhelming to think about it every day, waking up, not knowing if you're going to have a house that day, or somebody putting an eviction notice on your door because you don't have the resource to pay your rent, or just trying to make ends meet just to have food on your table. I mean, it's a struggle. It's overwhelming. It's just worrisome. You worry about it every day. It's a thought in my mind every day, trying to figure out what it is I'm going to do, waiting on the mail to come, saying Social Security going to tell me, Shalita, you got an overpayment, you got to pay us back. I'm trying to make it, just still trying to make it, and for them to say that I have to pay them back, how I'm gonna be on limited income and still can't make it.
To really go off what Shalitha said, it's a constant worry in the back of your mind. It's the day that I'm gonna open the mailbox and they're gonna cut my kids off, the one, medical insurance, and I feel like it doesn't matter. I take 2 steps forward and I feel like I go 10 steps back. It doesn't matter how hard I work, how hard I try, how good of a person I am, how much time I put into it. It's just never enough.
Yeah, and I think a big factor of everything is, sorry, I lost my thought. So for me, it was I'm self-made. Like, neither of my parents went to college. I find myself, in a situation where I'm a single mom, but I don't want that to even be stigmatized to just single moms alone. Like, I know everybody struggles. So, but for me, it was, okay, I have this responsibility. How am I gonna make this work? And, they want you to utilize benefits as these stepping stones. And I followed that, it feels like to a T. Like, I went by the book. I, made the transition from, junior college to get my degree, my bachelor's. And in the same time, like, I'm still struggling. And it's like, why am I still struggling? Like, why does this process have to be harder than it already is, even just to, have food on the table for my family? So that's just where I'm like, reapplying every 6 months. I know that there need to be deadlines and you need to reapply. But, my work-life balance was, extremely hard. And it's just one less thing that I felt like, I shouldn't have to worry about is, how am I gonna provide?
Yeah. One of the things we talked about as we were kind of preparing for this is it's almost like you get tagged as, hey, you went too far. We're gonna pull you back. Carmen's used the imagery of an anchor. It just pulls you back down suddenly when you finally feel like you've reached this point when you can see some light at the end. All of a sudden you're just smacked back down. Kim, can you talk about what you've found challenging and how you've had to shift your mindset?
So there is a level of trauma that comes with poverty. It is the repetition of the cycle. And so for me, it was generational. I say was generational because I'm now breaking that in my family. But it took a lot of therapy. I had to take soul shift classes. I had to move beyond what I was thinking and the cycle that I was seeing repeated in my family into something else for my children. And so it was really just a healing journey. I'm still on it. I'm still healing every day. I'm still growing, but it has been something that has taught me the power of community and really reaching back and bringing others along with me.
Thank you, Kim. So the cliff effect is something that's being talked about more and more across the country. And today we've come together as a community. There's lots of different people here that I think represent what this community looks like. There's workers here, there's employers, there's people that have faced financial struggle, there's people that have experienced a lot of financial success. There may be some people who are learning about the cliff effect for the first time that says, hey, that's happening to me. I'm experiencing this or about to experience it. And there's people here who probably have never been on benefits, but you're learning about something and want to be part of a solution to address this in our community. And I really appreciate all of you being here. I think we look at you and look at all of you, and you're successful women. You've done so many things. You've achieved, degrees and promotions and all these wonderful things. You've raised wonderful families, and yet there's this continued story of it's still a struggle.
And I think so much of that points back to why we're here today with the cliff effect. So to end our panel, what are some final words you'd like to leave the audience?
Well, first, I want to thank everybody for coming. We want to thank you all for being here today and hearing our stories. And we really hope that we have shed some light on our stories and how they have affected us and people like us in the community. And it would be our hope that we could come together to end the cliff effect and the barriers that really hold people back and work together as a community for future generations to come. Today is the day, the time is now, and this is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Can we give another hand for these courageous leaders? I'll tell you what, guys, it's not easy being vulnerable and sharing your stories, but we want to thank them and celebrate them. And also, you guys, we want to thank you all for being here too, because the beginning of change is knowledge and educating yourself. And so just the fact that you're here shows that you care about this community. And so give a round of applause for yourselves. We want to take a moment to invite one person from every table to come up here and speak. Just kidding. You can laugh right now. Everybody was getting nervous. It's okay. But what we are going to do, we're going to discuss these two questions as a table. So if you haven't introduced yourself, get ready to make some friends. But we want to talk about what emotions did you experience listening to the panelists share about their personal experiences with the cliff effect. And we also want to talk about what is your biggest takeaway from the information and the stories that they shared. Pardon me. So we're going to allow about 7 to 10 minutes or so for you guys to discuss that as a table. Please don't be shy. I'm going to walk around and make sure you're speaking. If you need some encouragement, then I can help out too. I'm just kidding. Go for it. Hey, friends, 2-minute warning. Get those final thoughts out. 2-minute warning. Thank you. Stop! Everybody stop now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm actually not kidding, but hopefully you guys, we can continue these conversations and just push the ball a little further down the field. At this moment, I want to invite Christina back to the stage to tell us what we're going to do about the cliff effect. Everybody give a round of applause, please.
So if you were offered an opportunity to grow your income, would you take it if it meant you'd end up with less money to pay your bills or to pursue the future you want? Is that a choice you would make? This is the problem with the cliff effect. This is why we're here tonight. So before I want to wrap up, I want to talk about where we go from here. So in Circles, it's important to us in our program, and whenever we've done these kind of events where we've talked to the community about barriers that people face, it's important that we make some commitments about what we're going to do about it. So the first thing we can do is change our perspective. We can ask ourselves the question, what assumptions have I made about poverty that are just not true? What we ask our allies to do in Circles is to learn from their circle leader about the struggles and the barriers they face. And then to go and share the truth about poverty, what they've learned with those in their network, those in their circle. So I hope we can do that after tonight. And second, when we see things like the cliff effect, an issue that's not just an individual problem, but a pattern that we see happening over and over again, a barrier that's based on a system, so like the benefit system, focusing on policy change is often the best and most effective solution. So we have to be willing to talk about policy change. We can change the way these benefits are implemented so that they work for people. Other states have made changes so that instead of this steep cliff, that benefits actually kind of gradually decrease as income increases for people. And I know policy change can seem really big and unreachable, but the good news is that we've already started down this path. So at Circles, we are mapping benefit cliffs. We're learning when these cliffs will occur for households and how they're going to be financially affected. And so we're piloting tools like the Cliff tool from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. And the city of Fayetteville has joined us in this pilot, which makes this tool available for others in the community. And what this tool has done is given us visibility into something that's extremely complicated. So a lot of our circle leaders don't know when this is actually going to happen until it's already happened. And what this tool allows us to do is to look a little bit into the future. And so then from here, we have the opportunity to start talking about real changes. So on your table, you have a handout with a link to our website that has more information and resources on the cliff effect. And one of the things you'll find on that website are some recommended strategies for how we begin addressing the cliff effect from a policy level, such as aligning eligibility levels or considering the negative impact of asset limits. Which really brings me back to perspective. So, we say we want people to have emergency funds and savings accounts, right? And yet our policies limit the amount of money people are allowed to have in the bank in order to receive these benefits. So, for example, if someone has more than $2,250 in their bank account, it would disqualify them from food assistance. So, perspective question. Are we willing to allow people to continue to draw benefits when they have money saved in the bank? And what belief might we be holding that would make this an uncomfortable thing for us? If we're not willing to go on this journey, then we are going to be stuck in the cycle of forever managing poverty, not ending it. And it's our vision as an organization to be a community committed to removing the barriers that keep people stuck in poverty. And that's why we're here. We need to be led by those who are closest to the problem. Now, we all know that policy change is connected to voting. And so Circles also provides a lot of nonpartisan voter education resources to help our community feel confident in casting their votes and to understand the powers that our elected officials have when it comes to affecting poverty. So we also encourage you to visit our website and check out those resources and make a plan to vote. Our website is literally set up to walk you through making a plan to vote this in the next couple of weeks. So the cliff effect is something that is being talked about nationally and has a lot of bipartisan support from policymakers and legislatures. So this is something that makes sense for us as a community to start talking about. So we have a beautiful cross-sector of our community here today. Some that have experienced the cliff or might be right on the edge of a cliff. Some who haven't experienced it but see it as a problem and want to be part of something to address, to make changes. Some who are employers who are now can be more aware of how you set your hourly rates, your salary ranges, or your benefit packages. And some who are policymakers here who can take on this issue, again, something that has a lot of bipartisan support, and rally for change. So wherever you fall in these categories, the pathway to solutions for the cliff effect is going to take all of us. This is just the beginning of a movement with Circles in the city of Fayetteville and those of us here to begin to address the cliff effect. And so we encourage you to take home the handout on the table to learn more about the cliff effect on our website and to explore opportunities to get involved in Circles and in this work. So all of this here is what we mean when we say we are building community to end poverty. So I deeply thank you guys for being willing to be here and for going on this journey with us as we work for this change. So thank you.
Hey guys, can we give one more round of applause for Christina? A round of applause for yourselves. A round of applause for the library. We're at the very end, so just keep clapping. Just keep clapping. Round of applause for everybody. You guys, we want to take a moment to invite our wonderful circle leaders back to the stage. So Kim, Carmen, Shalita, Patty, can you all please join us on the stage? And I guarantee you these people will clap just like this. Christina, can we invite you to the stage? Caitlin, where are you at? We want to invite you to the stage. You guys, Caitlin did the video, which was phenomenal. So we want to celebrate these wonderful, resilient women and give them their flowers figuratively and literally. So one more time, please make some noise for our circle leaders. No, it's on y'all. Stay. You stay. You stay. Woo woo! Thank you, ladies. I mean, y'all can stay up as long as you want. This is the end, so I mean, feel free to do whatever you want. This is about y'all. You guys, this is the least favorite part of the night. It's time to go home. Special thank you again to the Public Library for allowing this event to go forth. Yeah, clap it up for them. Again, special thank you to each of you for coming. Please don't forget to take a handout. You guys, this is the start of the conversation, but definitely not the end. So I encourage you to keep the dialogue going in your communities. And again, thank you so much for coming. Please get home safely. The library closes at 8. So if you want to stay and chat, cool. But as you're talking, kind of make your way. You know what I'm saying. Thank y'all so much for coming.